want to express our sadness and deepest sympathy with friends and families of both Frenchie Capal and Loretta Perez. They died tragically last night in an automobile accident, and they were highly respected, very well-known business leaders and friends to many in Massena. I've received calls, emails all day long. The last one I got this afternoon was from Senator Dan Steck, who called and said, of course, he knew Frenchie from the Rotary Club meetings, the Ben to the Monday Luncheon Club, and things like that. And he was equally devastated as many of us here in Massena. So we want to, again, express our sympathy to the family and the friends. They were friends to many of us, and we all worked with them, in clubs, etc. Anybody else want to add anything at this time besides myself?
No, I just know that, Frenchie was a lot to do with the entire community. He was always there for all kinds of things. I remember him cooking for Rotary.
Oh, yeah.
And doing all kinds of things along those lines. So
Yeah.
he's just a community person.
We all have our own personal stories of how he's helped out in many ways that people do not know about, right?
I know Loretta from the hospital.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
the only way
you
I
run the
know.
hospital company. Right?
My wife and I, during the ice storm, we volunteered at St. Mary's. It was only a social hall in Massena.
Yeah.
And we had a busload of nursing home residents from Granger there. The basement was full, the first floor was full, and the school was full. The power was going on and off. We didn't know what to do. Frenchie came with Mark Cameron. They rounded up some great big generators. Somehow they saved the day over there.
Yeah, yeah, you've been very, very helpful in many, many ways.
When Massena needed him, he was there.
Yeah, definitely. Just an awful, awful loss to the community. Okay, we have a presentation with Matt Cooper from Martin LaJudas. He's going to let us know the updates on the water project on the South Racket. Matt, feel free to come around, take the floor wherever you want to speak.
I had emailed up last week a monthly update summary similar to the ones you've seen from me in the past, just outlining where we're at with things such as the project funding, project schedule. Really the highlights on the South Racket Water District. As you know, we are in the midst of design, permitting, regulatory approval to get the project near the point to begin bidding that. The financing hopefully will close with the FC at the beginning of 2025. The last thing they said they're waiting on is Department of Health approval of the drawings and specs. We addressed their last set of comments and would expect that approval to come very soon. So that will, upon closing, reimburse the town for all dollars spent out of pocket so far on the project. And from that point forward, all funds spent on the project will be from that financing. So no more direct dollars from the town on the project, and you'll be reimbursed for everything you've spent to date to the penny.
So no more bills from you?
There'll be bills, but they'll be paid by the project. That's how a project happens.
I know, I know what I see coming across the desk. Okay.
Yep. Those are kind of the major milestones, with easements kind of being the last big hurdle to be able to get out to bid and get it constructed. So
We have to get that done.
Yeah, so we've got, I've been working with Anthony at Martin LaJudas. He's got me the final list of the easements that are needed. My staff is working on them.
Okay.
They'll be available, and we can start tracking down signatures on them in January.
Okay.
Any idea how long the process may take, if you guess?
I usually, it's a 30, 60-day process, right? It depends on if we have any holdouts, but the easements themselves, there's not that many of them. And we're, realistically, we're only looking for easements for, the term that they use is main line, right? We want to make sure that the pipes are going to go that aren't just serving a house, that are actually, necessary for the entire project. We've got solid easements for those, right? So
So there's like, what, 150 or something like that?
about 140 services, I think.
yeah, but we
And
only
there's less than a dozen for the actual main line itself. So we absolutely have to have those for the main line. If someone doesn't want to sign the easement for the service lateral to go from the main line to their house, well, then they just don't get a water line.
So the actual, from my understanding, and tell me if I'm wrong, is by the time we get through covering all of this and all the expenses and everything else, it is covered by the grants that we have, plus the pass on expense to the customer, basically, so the town is not on the hook in the end for any expense.
Yeah, I mean, kind of the big picture financial look for this water district and any water district. That district has to be financially self-sustained. None of the cost burden from that district can be borne by the rest of the town. Temporarily it has while you're waiting for your financing,
Right.
but the town will be made whole on all of that, and the town will have no more financial exposure going forward. Just that water district and the users within it.
I think it's just the timeline, the waiting period that makes us nervous. Now, what is your timeline of expectation for the easements?
I'm gonna
Yeah, so
punt that one over to Eric.
we're working on the easements now, but again, that's something that, we have to have those in place before the project construction starts, but not.
So tell me this, do you have to have the easements done before you can put out bids for the clerk of the works and all that company?
Before we go out to bid for construction,
Yeah.
the funding agency will have to have a certificate of right-of-way signed by the town or the attorney that says you have the legal right to install the lines where they're going to go. They won't release any money for construction until you have that. You can't have that until you have the easements in hand.
Okay,
So one depends on the other, which depends on the other.
okay. And then what's your timeline that you expect, once this all gets done with the easements, what's the typical timeline for putting out bids?
So, I mean, I put a tentative schedule on here. I mean, what I would anticipate at this point, we'd go out to bid in spring of '25, tentatively in March. Begin construction in the summer of '25, and that would probably go through into at least the summer of '26. Probably a 12 to 14 month construction schedule, depending on how much, winter weather we get through that 12-month cycle. Is it one they can work through? Is it not one they can work through? So 12 to 14 months.
Yeah, that's good, because people ask questions. They
Oh,
wanna know
yeah.
Absolutely.
When
Yeah,
we're
they
gonna
will.
get there.
And every time I send you this every month, try to look at that to see if it needs to be adjusted. And so, if you have questions like that, just look back at the last update I gave you, and that's my best guess at that time.
And when I send out the updates, council members, feel free to contact and ask those questions.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
certainly. Any questions on the South Racket Water Project?
We have water department people here, do you have any questions, Mike? No? I'm trying to think of people that have questions. Okay.
So next is the latest news. As you recall, when we did the study and evaluation for water service in the town, there were actually 3 areas that were identified as different phases to carve up what was too big of a project to handle all at once. There was Frigo Road, and then South Racket, and then extending beyond South Racket all the way up to the border facility. Those were the 3 different pieces. Frigo was actually the smallest piece, the smallest project, the projected smallest user cost. We thought that would probably be the easiest one to tackle. However, with the town's upcoming plans on doing the highway garage, the South Racket Water District became the top priority of those 3 different phases. So we kind of took on one of the toughest ones to fund first. Fortunately, you've gotten the toughest one, the next toughest one, funded in just 3 funding cycles. I mean, I had different conversations with the town in the last 5 to 6 years that we've been talking about this, and tried to keep expectations realistic with talks of, this could take 10 to 15 years to get funded. If you don't start now, it'll never happen. So to have the 2 biggest parts of it funded in 3 years is actually pretty amazing.
Okay.
So you received an offer to do that funding offer, a grant offer of $5 million to fund that next phase, to get you from the South Racket District all the way up to the border facility. that was, we waited a year in between funding rounds, just to give the South Racket time to progress and move forward. You know, and to have a little bit of gap in the two, so we didn't have too much to take on all at once.
Right, 'cause it feels like that right now. It feels like, oh my God, one right after another, we haven't started the first one yet.
Right. But quite honestly, we didn't expect to have this funding success so quickly. I thought it might take a few years. So to have, you know, to get funding for the first one the first time we applied, and then funding for this one the first time we applied is actually great, great success for being able to ultimately provide public water all the way up to the border facility, which was one of the major goals of this study when we started it 5-6 years ago.
And again, we have concerns about maintenance after this happens. I mean, there's a whole lot to it. Tell me this. If we accept that $5 million now, okay, but we decide not to proceed, are we obligated?
No. No, you're basically representing your interest to continue to stay in the running for that
Because there's another 6
grant
million
you're
involved,
offered.
so that's why I'm asking. So,
Correct,
yeah.
correct. And, you know, our projections for the user costs, you know, they have different components. It's the purchase of the water from the village and the operation and the maintenance, and the debt service that comes along with whatever part of the project costs. It's not grant funded. So that was all built into that report that we had prepared for you for this portion, this phase of the overall project. So it's actually all accounted for in that, in those user rates, which were actually quite affordable rates and at or less than what we had even projected for the South Racket. The only thing I would like to perhaps do, you know, as we did with the South Racket, after we had the first $5 million grant offer, we continued to pursue funding for you to add more grant to that project, to continue to drive down that cost.
Good idea.
We did, and
Keep doing it.
we got too much grant for the first one, more than we can actually use.
I'm talking about the next one you're talking about.
So what I would like to do is enter in discussions with the funding agency of saying, hey, it's essentially just another phase of the same project. Can we move some of that grant offer from the South Racket that we can't use because we have too much over to the next phase, to the border district? So I'd like to begin those discussions to continue to try to keep all those costs
Because
down.
those were, those two grants were like 1.6 and 1.2.
1.8.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we had calculated those based on, you know, the first $5 million grant you received was a max of $5 million or 70% of project cost after other grants. What happens is if you add more than 1.8 million to the South Racket project in additional grant, they start taking some of that $5 million back because you hit that 70% ceiling. So we ended up getting two 1.8 grants for it. Both of them we applied for. So we're going to see if we can move one over to the border district. It's going to take some conversations with the funding agency, but again, it will help keep rates lower for that border
Now,
district.
I know we have another Zoom meeting at 11 o'clock tomorrow morning. Are you in that Zoom?
I think so.
I'm trying to think. Somebody might have more specifications about this phase 2 or whatever, so it's interesting. Clarification.
Regarding the water project?
I think so, pretty sure. Huh.
Oh, I'm sorry, that's regarding the STAG grant. Yes.
Yes, the
Yes.
STAG grant, yeah.
Boy, I was fuzzy on it as you were. Yes, so that's one of the $1.8 million offers you've got on the South Racket was the congressional directed spending from Elise Stefanik.
And they have some specifics in here that hopefully somebody gives.
Yeah, that's actually boilerplate stuff that we have that we can provide them on the
Okay.
project. Yep, absolutely.
Okay.
So yeah, that's one of your 1.8, that's the one we want to keep with the South Racket.
Okay, all right, okay,
I'd like to try to move the rural development offer over to,
okay. And Dylan, you're gonna be available for that and Pat also? Okay, so write down your questions that you're thinking of, all right?
yeah, I'm sorry, a little fuzzy, I have like 11 town and village board meetings this week and I'm trying to keep all the,
That's not, okay.
and the can't net for this one, so. So I put a tentative schedule in there for the border water district,
Yeah.
just to give you some idea of what that might look like, you know, continue to pursue that. So, you know, it would lag by a year plus from the South Racket project.
Okay.
I mean, we wouldn't want both in construction at the same time anyway.
No.
And quite honestly, there are so few available contractors and contractors available that can do this size of a project, that if you tried to do them at the same time, you probably wouldn't even be able to find someone to do it. There literally isn't the manpower out there in the construction world, so staggering them would work best for you anyway, especially to get competitive pricing.
Anybody have any specific questions for Matt? We want to talk to him about this again, so.
So the only action item for you would be to sign that bill award offer, and it has to be emailed back by tomorrow. And again, it doesn't obligate you, it just expresses the town's interest in that funding and for you to continue to be considered for it.
Okay. All right, we will be in discussion. Okay?
Okay.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, let's go down to our standard agenda items, please. Approval of minutes from November 20th. Any couple of motions?
Motion.
Motion by Pat Facto, second by?
I'll second.
Second by Adrian. All in favor? Okay. Next, authorize the town board to reappoint the following for 5-year terms. We've all been contacted and said, yes, I'm willing to be a volunteer again, which is great. Bob Rupert for zoning, John Horn for joint recreation, James Shaw for electric, along with being the chair again, David Ferry, the museum, David Grant, planning, and Peter Romeo for library board. And I want to thank these volunteers, because again, it involves not just coming to one meeting a month, there's usually a lot of work you have to do in between meetings. So I want to thank all our volunteers who serve many hours in these boards, and any other residents in here who are interested in serving on a board, let me know, call me, and I'll put you on lists as to what areas you're looking at, okay? So need a motion, yes.
Yes, I'll make a motion to accept these people.
Okay, Pat, and second,
I'll second it.
Adrian, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Authorize the town board to approve and sign the NCC Systems Genetech Advantage contract for purchase of security cameras for the town of Massena. Motions?
I'll make a motion.
Ray, good. Anybody else? Second?
I'll second it.
Adrian, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Authorizing the town board to approve hiring a new town of Massena Highway Department motor equipment operator. That employee must pass a drug and alcohol test per the town of Massena employee handbook policy. Motions?
I'll make the motion.
Pat, and second?
I'll second it.
Adrian, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Authorize the town board to send a proposal request to perform an IFE, independent fee estimate, is that what that is?
Yes.
Okay. For the design agreement from the Massena International Airport, rehabilitate taxiways.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, Ray, made the motion.
I'll second. I'll second.
Pat, seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Authorizing the town board to approve the draft agreement for a lump sum consultant agreement for design of the rehabilitate taxiway.
Motion.
Pat,
I'll second that.
Ray, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Authorize the town board to approve the draft agreement for a lump sum consultant agreement for design of the reconstruct hangar door project at the airport.
I'll make the motion.
Ray, and
Second.
seconded by Pat. So, okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Authorizing the town board to approve the draft agreement for cost plus fixed fee consultant agreement for construction, observation, and administration of the terminal rehabilitation project at the airport.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, Pat, and second.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
There's many parts to these grants, amazing. Authorize the town board to approve the draft agreement for the lump sum consultant for the Replace 2012 project at Massena International Airport.
I'll make that motion.
And second?
I'll second it.
And
You can
all
tell
in
Ray and I
favor?
on that
Aye.
committee.
Authorizing the town board to approve the draft agreement for the lump sum consultant again for the purchase project pickup truck plow blade material shredder at the airport.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, Ray, and second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Here we go. Authorizing the town board to approve the draft agreement for the lump sum, again, for administrative services for the project tractor and broom at the airport.
I'll make the motion.
Pat, and second?
I'll second that.
Ray, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Authorizing the town board to approve the draft of lump sum consultant for design of the fence installation and improvements project at the airport.
I'll make that motion.
Ray, and a second.
I'll I'll second it
Pat,
first.
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Authorize the town board to approve the draft for the lump sum consultant for the design of the perimeter fence installation and improvements.
I'll make that one.
Matt, and a second.
I'll second that.
Ray, and all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Authorizing the town board to approve the draft for lump sum consultant for the design of the terminal access road rehabilitation construction.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, Ray, second
I'll second.
by Pat, all in favor?
You had a busy
Aye.
report.
Yes, thank you. Authorize the town board to review and approve the contracts for the upcoming town Massena sports shows 2025, which are being, again, taken care of with market grants.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, Adrian got you.
Hey, Adrian, you got
All
it?
right, Adrian, and second by
I'll second it.
Pat, all in favor? Okay. We got a couple more, huh? Okay. The next motion, which is not listed, restating and reaffirming trustee term of Massena Public Library according to that major sheet of resolution number 2024. Okay. Reaffirming process and procedure. I need motions. Yes, library.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, Ray?
No second.
Ray, got that one, and a second by Adrian, all in favor. Okay. Now, number 16 is another one. Setting a public hearing for January 15th to establish a local law repealing section, is it 204 or 209?
There's gonna be two local.
I know, but is that 204 or 209?
204.
Okay, 204 of the town code and notice of defects,
Yeah, notice of defects.
notice of defects law.
Yep. And then the second one will be, notice of defects law.
Okay.
Yeah.
And again, those are all required because of the, our insurance company is expecting those,
Nightmare has asked us to
yeah,
take a look at
to
those.
amend those from, in other words, to fix them up to the time it is now in this world. Okay, some of them are rather old in the process.
Motion.
So motions by,
I'll motion it.
that was Ray and Adrian. On
The
number-
first one was, who's, who
Okay.
did this one?
Oh, yeah,
I did
who's-
this one. Was it second?
who did the second one?
Pat.
Matt and who?
I'll make a
I
motion.
second that.
All right, Ray, and then Adrian. Yes?
Yep. all in
Okay.
favor.
Aye.
All right,
I'll speak
well,
at the same time.
okay, now you want this back for your notes?
Yes, please. So it was Ray and Adrian, the second
I
one?
have it written down, the second one down below.
Pat, right, okay.
Okay. Okay,
There.
okay. Now, transfers and amendments,
I make a motion that we accept the transfer and amendments.
okay?
I'll second that.
Right, and all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And warrants.
I make the motion we accept the warrants.
Adrian,
I'll second that.
Ray, and all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Financial reports. Brenda's not here, she was with her daughter all last night while her daughter is having her baby. So she was up all night long with her daughter, and so I said, go home and get showered up and have some rest. So I hope I do this right for her. Okay. According to what she's telling me, the revenue for, 2024 is $1,097,788 less than December 2023. And expenses is also $385,869 less than 2023. The bank's balance, again, it's the end of the year, for December 24, bank's balance, $323,626. And I'm assuming that's enough to pay all our bills. Okay,
All the ones we're gonna pay.
yeah, we're doing it, okay, which is good. Let's go right to our committee reports. Town highway and airport, please.
For the highway department, we completed a road sign inventory. We plowed 12 times, performed maintenance on the plow equipment after each storm. We started shift work and finished storing equipment for the winter. For highway department repairs, we made repairs to Unit 53's driver's seat, replaced Unit 47's steering box, and Unit 51 went to International in Watertown for emission systems repairs. For the airport, boutique air numbers for November, there was 485 emplaned, 481 deplaned, for a total of 966. There was 180 landings, 2 were canceled due to weather. They performed maintenance on plow equipment after each storm. They've been clearing debris from the fence lines. We finished up the electrical project. So currently, all of the lighting systems are working at the airport. The library has no new issues, the museum has no new issues, and the electrical project was completed in the new storage building.
Okay, and a little update, we have had calls from both Boutique and Cape Air so far.
Yes.
We will hear, when we hear from the Department of Transportation, we'll know who's putting up proposals for our airport.
Correct.
Which will be doing April. So we'll just continue on with that process. Joint recreation.
Joint recreation met on December 10th. They started a new futsal soccer program, which is basically like soccer, but it's indoors. They're going to be having it at, I believe, the high school. They had 50 kids signed up, 25 kids for first and second grade, and I think the next group up between the 4, and they have 75 kids for the high school age. They're still waiting on an answer for the parking lot. We fixed the potholes that are in front of the arena. They haven't got a response yet from the G&A group. They started to pick their budget committee, which will be formed at the next meeting. The Mark Trail tournament is going to be January 10th and 11th. They received beach sand from NIPA, 300 tons of it, and they're, out of the 900 tons they're going to get, I don't know when they're going to get the rest of it, probably when the snow melts or whatever, I'll bring the rest. The arena roof is not leaking, but they are going to have someone look at it, see why it's collecting moisture on the roof.
Is it still that one section between the lobby and the?
No, the actual roof itself is getting like a white, watermarks on it. You can see if you look up, it's like a white mist or whatever. It's not, any type of, forget the word you want to use, like any kind of mold or anything. It's just the moisture on there, it's freezing back up on the roof, and they're gonna try to look at it to see why it's collecting. They don't seem to know why it's doing that. And that's it for,
Okay,
recreational.
all right, thank you. Library?
We've been on the December 10th at 4:18 to 5:35. The total programs for this year was 62 programs with a total participants of 654. The library usage for 24 was 83,099 for the website visits, 40,141 for the wireless, 57,503 for the library visits, computer usage 2492. Their mailing campaign in 24 brought in $12,506 for sending out thank you letters.
And hopefully done before the end of the year, right?
Pardon?
Before the end of 2024, we hope.
They're working on putting out thank you letters, yes. PayPal donations were $341. Scott Meyer's Tattoos brought in $1,340. They had their friends' holiday celebration on the 14th, which was a good turnout. And they had bands at the Moose Lodge. They had bake sales. I encourage the library board to shop local when they can.
Yes.
They're still working on their trustee handbook. That's still a work in progress. Hopefully by the end of the year that'll be done. Policy committee, they're planning to do sexual harassment training. 11 people attended the healthy eating program. And that's about it. Next meeting is January 14th at 4:15.
And you might want to share with them that we have our own sexual harassment training policy through the town and our employees take.
Right.
So we already have it, you don't have to reinvent the wheel, you know what I mean?
Sure.
If they want to share that for them. Also, I went to that concert on Saturday, and very good attendance, very, very nicely done. It was great to see people down there in the library. Okay, museum.
Well, we met on the 5th from 4:30 to 5 o'clock. Had one ascension 10 D sessions, 3 website hits, 4 visitors. The electrical service is now completed in the storage building. That's all done. Now we'll work on the next stage now, getting, the house has got a little heater in there now.
Yeah, Dylan, anything you want to add to that?
We did get 2 separate quotes. I had employees at the Highway Garage put together, so we have figures for the next step. Once we get the electrical project paid for, we can see what's left of money and see how far we can go.
Or what are you gonna be doing?
To insulate and sheet the walls on half of it, so that half will be heated.
The historian report, we had 6 requests, 3 by phone and 3 emails. Genealogy requests and historical requests. The electrical service again is all done. And our next meeting is on January 9th at 4:30.
Okay, thank you, good. The St. Louis County Chamber was there for the opening of a new store that replaces Romeo's on South Main on December 10th. After a successful Fall Fest in downtown Massena, the Chamber's planning the Massena Festival in spring of 2025. Also put on your calendars for business after hours for May 29th, and the annual tourism dinner to be held at the River Course on June 12th. And at this time, Ben Dixon, St. Louis County Executive Director, please come forward and share with us
Okay.
more news.
Thanks. I think, now I'm not talking to the back of Ray's head. I think before I give the rest of my updates, I'd like to acknowledge the passing of Frenchie and Loretta. It'll surprise none of you that Frenchie was a regular participant in a lot of our chamber activities, especially those dealing with business development. Always very enthusiastic and energetic about sharing his experience and knowledge with other business leaders. And I think perhaps my fondest memory is when we would attend the BOCES tours that we would give. He really loved sharing stories of how he would take BOCES graduates and turn them into career employees. And
That's
so,
wonderful, yeah.
so obviously that loss overshadows our updates this evening, but I can say with conviction that you want us to continue pursuing the vitality of the community. So thank you, Sue, for sharing a few of those tidbits, and thank you and Ray for coming to the ribbon cutting at North Country Wine and Liquor a couple weeks ago, which was great to see that business up and running, and we hope to have a lot more ribbon cuttings in the year ahead. I distributed a few documents to you all. Of course, the update on the Massena-specific activities that you got in the packet from Sue. I also added an addendum for you here today that's kind of some of our county-wide activities that likewise benefit Massena, as well as a constituent letter that I wanted to share with you all today. We spoke to the ribbon cutting, also in that update. You'll note there's we've had a lot of postings on social media, and our Visit STLC Massena Facebook page is approaching 5,000 visitors as a result. And in the tourism sector, we were pleased to work with the town and the IDA to help the town get $10,000 in tourism promotion funds from the ARPA program. We were able to get a nice page on the Massena page on the Discover Upstate New York website, which is a very heavily trafficked tourism platform. Some great video footage from around the Massena area that we can use in regional tourism marketing, such as Thousand Islands Seaway programs. We've done a lot. The visitor center continues, at the locks, continues to be a huge partner for us, and I just heard from Amy today that they're getting very close to the 35,000 visitor mark on the year from all 50 states and 20 countries. And they've been a big partner, and I will note that Supervisor Beller's going to be a celebrity next year, as she was interviewed for a WPBS special on the locks along with myself and our director of tourism, Tiff, so she could hand out autographs when the
I hope
kids
I hope they did special effects and fixed you, whatever, okay.
So that's been important for us, and we also just barely launched the first of 4 stories in the Hearst Time Union online, which does reference some of Massena's nice recreational assets. So some interesting activity there. It was also a pleasure to recognize Current Renewable Energy as our local producer here at the annual dinner. So some interesting activity there, and I did want to also include that addendum on the county-wide activity because for me, when the county-wide activity that we're doing and the community-focused work we're doing support each other, that really, I think, is the sweet spot for us in terms of the vision for an integrated chamber. So there's some good stuff in there as well. Our recent craft food wine show drew over more than 4,000 people, and I think I saw some of you there walking out with bags.
There were a lot of Massena people there.
Yeah, there were, and so that was great. We had launched, had a Big Shot Local campaign this month to try to drive some of that holiday traffic to local businesses. We hosted a business and university mixer that there were some Massena businesses present at. Had a good tour of the Seaway Tech at BOCES. The St. Lawrence Leadership Institute continues to have a very good year. Some great participants in that. And then in the tourism sector, always moving there. We're launching a Canadian rat card suite and foodie itineraries and continuing our sports tourism development initiative. So a lot of activity there, which is nice that we've had some good activity the last couple months, but what I'm really excited to share this evening is really our plans for 2025. I feel this past year has been a year of a lot of change, foundation building, for us trying to get the 4-party mergers going along with new staff, whole new suite of membership benefits, increased board of directors. It's been a year of tremendous change for us. So that's really what I spoke to in that constituent letter I shared. And the important piece there is that we are moving our Church Street property to the MLS. I have the listing agreement on my desk, so that is imminent. And that's important for a couple reasons in terms of the rationale for that is that one, that's a much bigger building than we need for a chamber office and visitor center. So getting a different occupant in there will move it to a better and higher use. And we look forward to that being an active property again in Massena and contributing to the community and the economy. At the same time, relative to the chamber, it's important revenue for us. With membership revenue not being yet where we need it to be to sustain operations on a full-time basis in Massena, we hope that the revenue from the sale will help be catalytic funding to bring on staffing and a new office and increased business engagement with the businesses of the community. So,
And shall I assume you're looking at different places that will be having your office?
correct, yes.
Okay.
So we're looking at some options. I got a few leads, but if anybody else
Okay.
knows of any good spots, give me a holler.
Good.
So you already mentioned we got a business after hours lined up for the grist mill, and the tourism dinner's gonna be really, really interesting this year. We're holding it at the river course at Louisville Landing. It's gonna be themed on tourism at home. We have a great speaker named Josiah Brown coming to speak about sustainable tourism and seeing the big picture of how sustainable tourism meets quality of life for residents of the county. So that'll be an interesting thing. And as you mentioned, we're looking to host 1 or 2 festivals this year that would be, community-wide, engage a number of businesses and organizations to have events and connect them thematically in a way that will help, benefit the businesses. So So a lot happening this year, and give me a call or whatever if you have questions on any of the material I
Anybody
provided.
have questions for Ben?
Right?
Is the chamber touching bases with the Cornwall Chamber of Commerce?
Yes, as a matter of fact, we have started having some conversations with Cornwall in the past several months. Tiff our Director of Tourism attended the Binational Tourism Summit that Cornwall was also at. And I know Laura had some good conversations with them at a couple of events she was at. And I think there's some great opportunity for some cross-border promotion.
We got 47,000 people living 1 mile across the river.
There you go. So, yeah, we actually have had some good conversations with the Cornwall folks, as well as we had some interesting conversations with Prescott and Kingston people as well.
Jim, question?
Yes, sir. Along Randy's line, touching base with
Ben, this is Jim Hyden.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Hi, Jim.
Hi. I think it's in April, up and coming, the International World Junior Hockey is going to be in Cornwall this year, which is huge. And I think with the hotel industry and such, there are gonna be a tremendous amount of people that are gonna have to be housed, fed,
Yeah.
and such. And along Randy's lines, like you said, maybe touching bases early with their whoever, chamber, whatever, to try to get on board and get some of the remnant.
That could be a great, like, event-based, opportunity for some of that cross-border commerce and
It's huge.
tourism activity, so that's a great thought, and, we'll make sure to have a chat with Tiff about that tomorrow,
Good.
our tourism director.
Anybody else for questions?
I'm sure it's already in the works, I'm probably overstepping a little bit, but is there any way, or I'd like to see the chamber work a little bit more alongside with the town of Massena when it comes to scheduling their fishing tournaments throughout the county and being on the same page, because we're all benefiting from what we have, the resource we have. And sometimes I feel like we're stepping on each other for a second, and I just would like to have like a more transparency type of thing, or more of a, these are the steps that we're gonna go, or this is the avenue we're gonna try to do, or whatever. That way, when our events come up that Massena's putting their money into, it's not affecting another event or affecting
Right,
our
or vice
event or
versa.
whatever, because last year I noticed like, last year there was a little bit of that.
There was some overlap
Yeah,
last
and-
year, yeah.
And we all basically are getting, even if Massena has an event or Waddington or anyone else, we all still get a portion of the pie from those events with the bed and breakfasts and the hotel and the restaurant and the gas station. We're all getting that
Commerce,
same amount
commerce
of
in
it.
general.
I would just like to see a little bit more of an upfront, dialogue. That way, we're not blinded by when the stuff's already inked. You know what I mean? That, then we're like, oh, no, you know what I mean? And we're trying to
And then-
skip around with different things that move events.
Right.
I'd just like to see a better, I'm sure you guys are on top of it anyways, but
Yeah,
like to
that's,
see a
it's a
little bit
great,
better.
it's a great point, and, you know, to the extent we can maybe, smooth the placement of fishing events across the St. Lawrence corridor in the county, that would be great. I will say Bassmaster does not give us a lot of flexibility in terms of when we host events. They, you know, come in with a very specific window that we can host them, and they really don't we don't have a lot of leeway.
and that's fine, I don't have that,
With
I don't have a
scheduling,
problem with that,
but,
as long as we know when to be able to schedule our events around Bassmasters, or what the
Yeah,
thought
so that
process is
we're
of it, so we're,
maximizing the
Right.
impact.
because everybody, like I said, Waddington benefits quite a bit, Fraser Falls, the
Mhm.
surrounding towns benefit quite a bit with the bed and breakfast, and
Oh,
the
sure.
fishermen that come in the area, it's kind of a, you know what I mean, we're kind of like bottlenecking the
Yeah, the opportunity.
opportunities that we have, and we're kind of probably losing a few, because maybe people can't find a place to stay now all of a sudden, so now they're gonna take the drive or do whatever, or stay farther away, which,
Yeah.
out of the county, which I don't want them to do.
Yeah.
Um, That's just
So
my
that's,
thought.
that's a great point. It does raise a couple of things, and something that I would love to share is that in truth, the largest impact, and I'm not belittling that in any way, I agree, I think that's a really great call. I also just want to add to it that another huge impact of all these fishing, I guess I'm setting this up for Dawn here, but just the awareness building that all these fishing activities have across the nation, of awareness of our fisheries here is phenomenal. The numbers we got from this past year's Bassmaster Elite event were phenomenal. I couldn't believe the numbers, including over 1.7 million site views on Bassmaster.com for this year's Elite tournament, which really speaks to, you know, the awareness that this spreads of our fishing industry across the nation. So yeah, I think to whatever extent we can make, and I mean, you got the kayak fishing tournament and all the things that John did this year, coupled with the Bassmaster Elite, and then we had the Bassmaster event in Ogdensburg where they set a record bass tournament and 9-pound catch. To the extent that we can line all those things up maximally, will have a great impact for our county for sure.
Definitely.
Did we tee that up enough for you, Don? So, yeah.
Thank you very
Any
much.
other questions?
Yeah.
Great, well, if anybody has more questions or whatever, give me a holler.
Right, really get in touch with them, that's for sure. Okay, let's
Yeah,
go
thank you.
to Pat, Code Officer Pat, Ryan.
So, right now, we've got a pretty manageable workload. We're down to 6 open complaints, soon to be 5. We've had about 8 come in the past month. All have been resolved with discussion. A lot of tenant-landlord issues, mostly revolving around lack of smoke detectors, carbon monoxide detectors, so we've addressed those pretty quickly. 23 open permits. We do a quarterly audit on the permits, because what happens is a lot of times we'll issue a permit, and then I'll let it go for a few months, and then I'll look back, and if they haven't reached out to request their inspections, we'll reach back out to check status of project. Sometimes people will get a permit and they won't do anything with it. Before I reach out though, I take a drive by the property. Twice now, we've discovered people that have applied for permits, have not paid for them, have not had them issued, but have continued to build their projects, so those are being addressed currently. We had another individual apply for electrical permit. I went by to do the site visit, discovered he had already completed the electrical work, put new siding, new roofing, 3 new porches. He was very honest with me, and he said, well, I knew if it's over so many square feet, so much construction value, it requires stamped drawings. He said, I knew it was gonna involve stamped drawings, so I figured, let's just go ahead and do it. Because he went into the code and realized it only cost him $50 if he's got. So he's like, I could spend this amount of money on drawings and this amount on a permit, or I can roll the dice, take my chances, and worst case scenario, you're only gonna hit me with a $50 fine. So we may wanna look at that and address it, so I'm looking at whether other municipalities do. So, you know, you don't wanna be real overboard on a fine structure, but it's gotta have enough bite where they look at it and be like, yeah, this really
That
isn't
you have to do it, yeah.
worth not doing it. All our fire inspections are complete. We've got 14 that we're still waiting on unpaid invoices for, so notice has been sent to them. Construction season winding down now, so we've got some time to do some proactive stuff. So the first thing that we're looking at right now is we have a residential building permit, a commercial building permit, an electrical permit, a roof permit, a siding permit, a fence permit, a burn permit. So looking at a lot of other towns and villages, as well as some counties in the state that do countywide code enforcement, they have a permit.
So one form, you just check the.
For everything.
Okay.
So, you know, it's kind of like an IRS tax form, you know, where they take you through block by block. So I'm thinking something similar to that. One building permit, if it's for residential use, fill out sections 1 through 6. If it's for commercial, 1 through 12. If it's pool, 1 through, you know. So one permit for everything, so because we have people that come in that need to do an electrical entrance. They come in and they hand me an entire building permit that they've clearly spent time on, and then I have to turn around and give them a single 1-page electrical permit and say, this is great, need you to fill this out.
So you're gonna go ahead and put that together?
Yep, so I'm gonna revise, I've got like 20 different samples from different municipalities and counties, trying to pick out the pieces that work best, then I'll get into Microsoft, we'll develop the form, do the same thing, turn it into a fillable, bring it back to the board once I've got it in a state where it's ready to go. But basically, we're gonna go from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different types of permits down to 2. It'll be a building permit to cover everything construction related, and then the burn permit will still remain, it's its own individual permit. And then I'm looking at like a special event permit. So like in the village, when there's a parade, a 5K, stuff like that, they apply to the village, it goes through this whole series of approvals from the mayor to the fire department to the DPW to sign off on. We had can't remember what the old Highland nursing home's called now, North Country Rehabilitation. It's changed names like 4 times, so it's getting hard to keep track of. But they reached out about a 5K, and we really didn't have a process for addressing it. So that's an additional thing we're gonna work on. Other than that, that's it. It's, system's going pretty well,
Thank you.
so.
Yeah, keep going there, yeah, thank you. Okay,
Sue,
Yes.
just before we move on from
Sure.
code, Pat and I do have one matter that we need to talk about in executive session, so
okay,
it'll be brief, but
okay,
super brief.
right. Give me on first. Okay. Town planning and zoning,
I was unable to attend
and Chris
first
was there?
year's the other ones.
Okay, so
The
you
minutes were disseminated, so they will get that, did you go through?
okay. Going on to Massena Electric.
We met on November 21st, 1 o'clock to 12. Their safety, they had no incident reports in October. That makes 876 days, no reportables. They're training on fire suppression and hearing techniques. Customer impact, and Halloween, they had a pine tree come down on a pole. And they had 553 customers impacted. They had 19 calls in October. Their work schedule, they're working with Air Products to give them a production feed out there. They replaced 7 poles in Louisville, that's all completed. Poles on Roosevelt Road, they're in good shape for the winter, it all depends on what's coming at us. Their write-offs are 27, 47, 36. Their ending fund balance is $7,820,233. They replaced their gasoline fuel tank on the premises, but the diesel tank is okay. They're gonna get reimbursed $25,000 from Massena Housing Authority for upgrading their lighting. We discussed HEAP, and HEAP is targeting the high-impact users. Weatherization kits have arrived. There's 460 kits, and they've given out 260 since October. They include weather stripping and plastic, and mostly in the village, not so much in the town. 531 customers have received HEAP. We discussed the SNS software program they're going up to. The old program is 8 years old, and they got a few issues with it yet. They hope to have it all resolved by May. Got a couple growing pains on the new system. I discussed cybersecurity. A report comes in every week from Homeland Security on that. They're waiting for grant money for the ash tree removal. And they discussed rates. The rates are 9 years old. There's a brief discussion on that. And the tree power program, $4,910 was given to P-Corps to plant trees in Louisville. And we discussed the Massena Electric video some more. Arnita Back was involved, Jim Shaw, Gina Candry. And the next meeting is tomorrow. At 1 o'clock.
That's great. Thank you very much. Jason is not going to be here this evening. Don Meisner.
Well, Ben certainly brought up the topic of fishing tournaments and the impact. And of course, the impact is one of the key things that we've been working on for some time. And we've told you that, the economic impact of what this is all doing for our area. Because that's really was the number one question when I started with Massena over 10 years ago, was how can we tell what impact this is having? Now, we can see all the boats and the trucks and so forth, but we have been putting together this economic impact. And Linda and I want to share some of that with you tonight. But I want to start with the sport shows that are right around the corner. And the significance of the sport shows is I've always felt is growing leaps and bounds, and it really can grow a lot this year because we've got more information that we can utilize to put our presentation together in a better way. And we've recently received information from the FLW, one of the tours, like what Ben talked about, Bass. And we have copies, and we wanted to show you these because these are copies of the full-page ad that has gone in Bass Magazine, and it's traveling not only around the country, but around the world, to all the different people that are part of that worldwide organization. Jason put these ads together for us based on the things that we want people to see. And we've made these posters because in our sport shows that we're gonna do, we will have these posters on display. And of course, we talk about everything that we have on display. The fishing, these sport shows are, they begin the end of January, I can't remember the exact date. And the first one will be in Marlborough, Massachusetts. But what I wanted to share was what Chris Hoover with the FLW, as we were going about the shows that are coming up this year. And he says they had hired wherever this organization came from, because they got billions of dollars, the FLW and Major League Fishing. They want to find out how they can best promote, and so we want to find out how we can do the same thing they're doing to promote what we're doing here. And they found that, and I'm not the best one to speak about this, probably Linda could speak about it better, and I'm sure Jason could. But they have found that, and I'm using these as very basic figures, but of people that want to find out more about fishing, they want to find out what fishing's about, how do we get into fishing, they want to find out where they're going to spend their vacation. According to what the experts have told them, that instead of using magazines and other print material, that 93% of the people looking for this kind of information now are using the internet. And the key factor in the internet is videos. They said that, again, and I'm throwing out percentages and who knows how valuable they are, but 75% of the people that look at a video will remember most everything that they saw. Whereas if people read an article telling the very same thing, that only 25% retain that. Now this information is coming to me from the head of Major League Fishing, because they're constantly trying to find more ways that they can help the host communities that have them come to their area. And so this year, with the events that we're having, instead of mass print material, they're going to give us, and Linda, you could probably give a better quote of the number, but it's in the hundreds of thousands of spots on their worldwide internet about Massena. So that's really something of importance to me. The other thing is, Ben talked about videos. And we had arranged with PBS months ago we came to this idea that if we could have videos that illustrated what life was here in Massena, then it would help us in our presentations tremendously. It would let people in sports shows or people that we meet in other ways that have taken an interest in here, that we could show them what they can experience when they come here. And so that was one of the first ones that we designed PBS to do. And Ben talked about that. That was out of the new Lock Center. And that's a big part of what we want to promote. We also want people to know about the Nature Center. And we want them to know about Hawkins Point Center, where they can see how electricity is generated. Unfortunately, for 3 months we have had hurdles where we couldn't shoot this video, but we already have video made by Major League Fishing that did a terrific ad, and we showed it to you a couple months ago, I think, of